A clutch in a manual car is used to transfer power from the engine to the wheels smoothly. This video shows how to match the speed of the engine and your movement. You will also see the proper synchronization of the accelerator, clutch pedal and gear selection in various everyday driving situations. I often get asked if you have to change gears if you're turning left onto a multiple lane roundabout. Currently I'm doing about 50 kilometers an hour and I don't know if it's a clear way. I'm going to slow down to about 30 anyway. Now I've got a clear way, so I did not have to change down to second gear because the transfer of the power to the engine was still sufficient enough for me to proceed. Any higher gear, fourth or fifth gear, would have been too high because the transfer of the power would not be sufficient to pull me out of the corner safely. Another commonly asked question is, should you change gears while changing lanes? The answer is no, because if you press the clutch, your engine will disconnect. The power from the engine will no longer flow to your wheels. When you check your blind spot, you don't want to restrict the power to your wheels. It's a huge advantage having your car in the correct gear. That way it will not lose any power and potentially hold any traffic from behind. Now I'm changing to second gear because I'm approaching a roundabout. This time I'm turning right and it's a lot sharper angle. I'll remain in the second gear throughout the roundabout because the second gear matches my speed. Avoid changing gears in the middle of the roundabout. First clear and then you can change lanes. Exception, if you're in the first gear and you enter the big double lane roundabout, you might want to go to second quickly just to avoid high revs. As you could see a moment ago, I changed up to third gear after I got out of the roundabout because when your speed reaches about 40 kilometers an hour, you should go to third gear. Now I'm about to make a sharp 90-degree turn, so I've got to go down to second gear. I'm releasing the clutch immediately because there's nobody to give way to from the opposite direction. Please note that you cannot have the clutch in because your engine's going to be disconnected if you're turning and trying to clear in front of fast moving traffic from the opposite direction, because the accelerator pedal is useless when you have the clutch in. When should you slow down and when should you change gears before you get to the roundabout? I'm approaching a roundabout and it's about 300 meters ahead of me. Slowing down too early would interrupt the flow of traffic. So would early gear change. About now I'm going to start to gradually reduce the speed, dropping it down to 30-ish. I'm going to change gears roughly about a few meters before I enter the roundabout. As long as you release the clutch in time, you shouldn't lose any points in your manual transmission driving test. Yet another common question, should you change from fourth to second? The answer is yes, as long as your speed matches the gear that you selected. So if your speed dropped to about 30 kilometers an hour, yes, you can go to second. So going from the fourth to second gear is perfectly fine in some situations. How do you approach slow points? What do you do? Should you go in third or should you keep it in second? Well, it depends on the sharpness of the angles. Usually, if you've got advisory signs stating 20 or 25 or 30, it's best to go to second gear, ensuring the smooth ride for your passengers and any loose objects in your car. If you have multiple slow points, you should change to a higher gear if the slow points are a few hundred meters apart, and then slow down and change back to the second gear when you get to the next one. The sharpness of the angle will always impact the speed and which gear you go to. When you enter single lane roundabouts, I suggest using the second gear. Of course, if you're not stopping and going to first. People also ask me, should you remain in the second gear if your speed is not exceeding 40 kilometers an hour? For example, if you're turning left shortly after you've made the last turn, yes, of course you can leave it in the second gear, and when your speed increases, change to the third gear. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel to support my work. As always, feel free to ask any questions. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.